Welcome to Selhurst Park, where Norwich City have fallen to a 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace this afternoon. Another week, another Premier League away defeat, and Norwich are still waiting for that second away goal of the season. Still that solitary Teemu Pukki strike at Anfield on the opening night is the only goal that the away fans have had to celebrate. And when you chuck in the League Cup defeat at Crawley as well, chuck that into the mix, and the away form has lurched from being brilliant in the Championship and being a great deal of fun to not being too much fun. But the away end was again sold out here at Palace. 2,500 Norwich fans in amongst a sold out crowd of just over 25,000. So the away fans aren't turning on Norwich either just yet. And this wasn't like Burnley last week. This wasn't one where the home team really did a number on Norwich and they were sort of deserved dominant winners. This is one where Palace needed their second goal in injury time in the second half. So Norwich were in this game. They were in with a chance, but they couldn't take their chances in front of goal, and ultimately that's why they've fallen to another away defeat. Apologies if you can't hear the lawnmowers in the background, as ever after games. The lawnmowers are straight on the pitch, and we'll just have to make do while we can. But to go over the sort of main instance of the game, there were three changes for Norwich. Ralph Fairman was fit, sort of. We'll come on to that in a minute. He shook off his groin problem to start the game in place of the injured Tim Krul. Mo Leitner kept the place in place of Alex Tettey, having come on for him early doors at Burnley last Saturday. And the other change was Max Aarons coming straight back in at right back for Sam Byram. Perhaps a little harsh on Sam, but I think you can see from Max's performance today that he's just on that same wavelength with Norwich when they're moving forward, and perhaps links with Emi Buendia a bit more. So I don't think Daniel can be criticised too much for that in the wake of this one. But Palace started off the game pretty well. Will Sahar, their star player, of course, he shook off and not to play. He smashed a shot just wide early doors. Fairman did make a good save from Jordan Ayew as well, but the game turned in the 21st minute when Palace got a penalty. It came in from the right side. Zaha skipped past Cantwell, nice turn away from him, and then crossed into the box. James McArthur was sort of harried away from goal by Ben Godfrey, and then Ibrahim Amadou decided to lunge into a tackle in his own box, only about 6 yards from goal, and he did catch the standing leg a little bit. It wasn't the worst foul in the world, but he certainly shouldn't have been diving into one. He just saw the ball was there to be won and thought he could get to it. James McArthur makes the most of it. Most Norwich fans that I've seen their sort of reaction to it online felt that it wasn't a penalty, but John Moss, the referee, was assisted by VAR for that one. It was checked by Peter Banks, the video assistant referee, back in Stockley Park in, well, not too far from here, in sort of southwest London. And they did award the penalty. I think it was just about a penalty, but a bit unfortunate. But it's Amadou's fault, frankly, because he gave the referee that decision to make when he should have been standing him up and trying to make sure that shot didn't come in. And Fairman did get close to making the save. He guessed the right way, dived to his top left, but in Luka Milivojevic, the Palace captain, they have a penalty expert, and he leathered the ball into that top corner. Fairman couldn't quite reach it. 1-0 after 25 minutes, Norwich very much in the game. Or 22 minutes, doesn't seem like too much of a disaster, but then Fairman limps off. That groin issue that he'd obviously really worked hard to try and overcome so that he could fill in for Tim Krul, his big opportunity, his first Premier League game, on loan from Schalke from the season, of course. And then the sort of thoughts of the day thing, here we go again, as he limps off, and Daniel Farke looks very concerned, of course, and Michael McGovern comes on, his first league appearance for Norwich since April 2017. A 3-0 defeat at Huddersfield when Alan Irvine was in charge. That was the final game before Stuart Webber took charge at Norwich. So that's how long it's been since McGovern has played in the league. He's just shadowed Angus Gunn and Tim Krul ever since then. There's been the odd cup appearance, very occasional appearance for Northern Ireland as well, but McGovern into the fray and didn't have a huge amount to do, to be honest. There were a couple of aerial balls, one that he flapped out a little bit, but did enough to tip the ball away. So McGovern coming into this game certainly isn't the reason that Norwich have lost in the end. There were chances for both sides from then on. Todd Cantwell had Norwich's best, possibly. Pukki had one tipped over in the first half, although the ball looked to be going over to me. Cantwell, similar chances really. In the first half he had one where he just didn't quite put enough power on it, and Martin Kelly was able to get back and block, although the keeper could have been beaten with that one. So that was a decent block. And then second half it was a similar one on the other side of the box, on the left side, and we were sat right behind it in the press box, and you could see he'd found the target. It was heading towards the bottom right corner, but he hadn't put enough power on it, and unfortunately that was kind of Todd's day summed up. He lost the ball a few times, nothing was quite happening for him, wasn't able to unlock the door for Norwich, so he was replaced with 10 minutes to go. Patrick Roberts came on and wasn't really able to spark anything. There was a couple of nice touches, but Palace were searching for their second by then. Josip Dermich also got 25 minutes. He came on for Marco Stiepermann, who had just been booked for a late tackle. So the goal came from Andros Townsend, who had come off the bench. Max Meyer, another substitute, did well to flip the ball down the left wing. Will Zaha did really well, good strength and skill away from Amadou, and at that point Norwich's defence were 6s and 7s really. Godfrey was out of position as well. Zaha plays a ball to Townsend just inside the box, just between Roberts and Lewis on the left side. And if there's one man in the Premier League where you don't really want him having a sight on goal on his left foot, as we've seen for Spurs and England in the past and Newcastle, it's Andros Townsend, because if he connects with one, then it's a good chance that the keeper's going to be struggling. He found the bottom right corner, just snuck it past McGovern, and that was 2-0, and that was the game over, unfortunately. Palace had a few other chances here and there. Zaha and Jordan Ayew both dived during the game. Neither were booked. Both were trying to win penalties. That was poor on both parts. Otherwise, Palace, once they had the lead, they kind of sat on it and didn't push too hard until the crowd sort of got on top of them and weren't happy with them sitting back against a Norwich team who looked like they were struggling to unpick the lock all afternoon, frankly. Pukki didn't get too many chances in behind the defence, and when he did, Palace's defence, led by Gary Cahill, were okay. I don't think they ever felt like their goal was really under siege. So it's another negative away day at the end of things. It's another defeat, another 2-0 loss. It's actually 4 successive away defeats, and I would imagine that everyone's just desperate to get home to Carrow Road next week and to take on Villa. The last home game, of course, you need no reminding, was that brilliant 3-2 win over Manchester City, and well, this team are really going to need their fans behind them. They're really going to need them to roar them on, because at this point that's looking like a little bit of a 6-pointer. It shouldn't do this early in the season, but frankly that's a game that Norwich need to be winning. They then go into the international break and they go away to Bournemouth and then home to Manchester United after the break. So this defeat has put a bit more pressure on that, but it's not like the performance is one to really worry about. They're just struggling to find that sort of incision, and I wonder if perhaps Marco Stiepermann might be dipped out now, just not quite effectual enough, not as effectual as he was in the Championship. I wonder whether Cantwell might get a chance in that number 10 role, and Roberts might get a start. But equally, on today's performance, you could say Cantwell didn't do enough. Emi Buendia, again, was quite a frustrated figure. Kenny McLean and Mo Leitner were okay, but it's not the balanced midfield that you'd really look for. Leitner was possibly one of the better players, again, like last week, and tried to make things happen and did put his foot in where needed. McLean equally put in a lot of effort, made one important header from a corner actually, which just for a second I was worried was going to go in as an own goal, and he did flick that away from trouble. Cantwell did actually clear one off the line as well, it just comes to mind. Cahill, from that follow-up corner after McLean had made that header, he was in the right place at the right time, at the just inside the right post to clear after a Gary Cahill header had actually hit his teammate Ayew, and Cantwell stepped in to get rid of the ball. So I guess it comes down to whether Hanley should have started at centre-back and Amadou should have been pushed into midfield. If you look at the challenge for that penalty, it's the sort of challenge that if you make it in midfield and it's not in the box, then it's no big deal. It would have been a free kick. He didn't get booked for the challenge. It wasn't a bad challenge or anything. So perhaps we're just seeing that him and maybe Byram, as we saw at Burnley last week, were really playing on adrenaline in that Manchester City game, because it was a real bats to the wall job. But with another injury problem, there was also a spell when we were worried Jamal Lewis was going to go off, and he was holding his wrist and arm as he came away after a bit of treatment. Ben Godfrey got a bit of an accidental knock to the face and was left with a cut above his left eye, and played the second half with a bandage around his head. It was his 50th appearance today, and he wore the captain's armband, and he was pretty composed. He got through plenty of work at the back, and he was really yelling at Amadou a couple of points about his positioning. Similarly, McLean was doing a lot of bossing around. So it's not like this was an abject performance where Norwich haven't turned up, haven't put in any effort. It's just not quite worked for them again, and I guess this is now going to reach those points, as it so often does for Norwich in the Premier League, where patience is really going to be tested for fans and for the players as to whether they can retain the faith of last season. So it's on to Villa at home next week. Obviously the keeper situation is going to be an interesting one. You would have thought that Farman is unlikely to be available for that one. Tim Krul isn't expected to be back until after the international break, and that is a definite because of this back problem. So that would possibly mean that Archie Mayer, a summer signing from Aberdeen, Scotland under-19 international, he could well be the player that comes in to be on the bench against Aston Villa, which is far from ideal, but at least with McGovern, you know, he is an experienced guy. We've just spoken to him in the mixed zone after there, and he was very calm. Was he pleased to be playing, but concerned about another defeat. Plenty of that to come at Pickens.com, but you know, he's got 28 Northern Ireland caps, has played plenty of football. He's 35 years old. Of course, was doing well at Hamilton before he came down to Norwich, and played most of that first season under Alex Neil before John Ruddy sort of reclaimed the place towards the end of the season. So it's going to be an interesting week. More talk of injuries, unfortunately. I'm sure Daniel Farker is absolutely sick of that, but they've really just got to go for the jugular against Villa now and really go for that win to try and retain some of that faith and just remind the fans of what they can do. So it's going to be another interesting week. Thanks for watching.